Awesome, man. And I have Tim Luna here today on the podcast from Houston, Texas. And Tim is an owner of TCNC Investments. It's a commercial and multifamily real estate firm. And I'm super excited to have Tim because a lot of people in real estate, a lot of people, wholesale and flip single family. And I know Tim does that as well, but not many people do the commercial space. So I'm really excited to have you on, Tim.
Blake, thanks for having me, man. I'm glad to join you.
Awesome, brother. So let's jump right into it, man. I mean, how'd you get into real estate? How did all that start for you?
Man, I was back in 2009, 2010, I was working at the plants out at Shell and Deer Park, just working as an operator, working 12-hour rotating shifts, nights, weekends, stuff like that. Ran into a guy I worked with, and he was always on the phone, always had his laptop out. We went on a few baseball trips together. And he was always working. I'm like, well, what do you do? He's like, well, I'm a broker with, he had like a Century 21 flag or whatever. And I was like, I always wanted to do real estate. At the time I had a vending machine business. I had 130 machines on 37 locations with 2 drivers, 2 trucks, and it was just a hassle, So I went ahead and got my license early in a weekend. I took the courses and did all the testing and stuff and got into it. But I found myself in a rut. I wanted a little more free time with my family. And my kids at the time were 5 years old and 3 years old. I was chasing regular commissions. I was doing regular real estate work. Chasing a $3,000 commission on a $100,000 sale, showing 5 or 6 houses to one family 10 years ago. And I was like, man, there's got to be more to it than this. I was wasting my weekends off from Shell showing houses.
Right.
So I was actually getting more work with less return on my time and money.
Yeah.
So I stumbled into a deal, man. I was just driving around, and I would drive for dollars later, but I was driving around. I saw it for sale by owner sign and called the guy. He was over there in Post Oak Terrace, right there at Meyerland and 610 on the inside of 610 Loop. For those that are familiar with Houston, got the house under contract, and I knew about flipping. I'd heard about it and stuff, so. Ran some rough numbers, walked the house, got an estimate, my best guess, and I was kind of right on the number, and tossed it to a few people I knew, and I made like $40,000 on my first wholesale deal. It was a small house, yeah.
Oh my God!
So I was hooked, man. I was hooked, and I literally just kind of dove into everything that I could find, back then on the internet or just word of mouth, and talking to different agents who did know a little bit about investing. Like you and I were talking about, we just started driving for dollars. Now my mom and I would literally, she retired from NASA after 40 some years. So I literally would pick her up, and we had a big spiral notebook, and we would start at the end of the street. She would write the street name down, and I would look out the driver's side, she'd look out the passenger side, and we would I would call out numbers, and she would write down her side.
Wow.
We get about 200 or 300 addresses, and we would send out letters. I gave her 10% of my profits, man, straight off the top,
That's
for
awesome.
doing all that. Yeah. So, I started doing that. I was still working at Shell. Ended up 2017 came around, and everybody knows what happened in 2017, man. Harvey hit. After that, everybody was a wholesaler and a GC, right?
Yeah.
What did it for me, man? There was a little old lady in Bel Air, in that area. I went to her house. All of her stuff was in the driveway still. I walked her house. I made her an honest offer. Her response to me was, well, you're $50,000 less than the guy that was here yesterday. And so I was like, look, ma'am, I said, there's no way it's going to work. And I showed her the numbers. I showed her everything. And I said, look, when he does not close, he won't buy this from me. He's going to do this. He's going to find a buyer, or he's going to wholesale it. And I said, when he doesn't close, call me back in 30 days and I'll give you a lower offer, but I'll make it right. She called me back. The guy gave her the runaround, which is what was going on at the time.
Yeah.
I ended up getting the deal done. I gave her as much as I could. I only made like 15 or 20 grand. Didn't make much, but it was about helping her out. Man, I didn't feel good after that. I was like, I got to do something else, and kind of the shark in the water mindset mentality was, I want to help people by selling their stuff for them also, but I don't want to take advantage of anybody. I don't want to get someone's only asset. So
absolutely,
I went out on a whim and just started looking at apartments. I didn't know anything about gross income, net income, price per door. I didn't know anything. Very green. Called this guy, cold called him. He had 5 units in Angleton, and he had 14 units in Brenham, Texas. Talk about spread out, right?
Right.
He's looking to sell. Got into a conversation with him. I was very honest with him. I told him I was new to it, looking to purchase or flip or whatever. And he told me all about cap rates and stuff like that. Like, he kind of broke it down for me. We were on the phone about an hour.
Wow.
So I actually got both those properties under contract. I actually sold the Angleton deal like 4 times. You know, I collect the non-refundable deposits from people. But I sold both of those deals, man, and I made like 135,000, like 60-some thousand
Wow.
per property.
Holy
Yeah.
moly.
And I was like, man, I was done. I was like, single family, I didn't look back, right?
Wow.
So at the start of 2018, I really started marketing and doing my stuff, and you know, finding direct owners best I could. Man, I this is no joke, and people don't really believe me when I say it, but the first like 15 calls I made, I signed 15 contracts because people did not call apartment owners.
That's so
You know?
true. Yeah.
I mean, I would literally, and I would have people, I mean, I was in 2018, I was getting stuff under contract for 33,000 a door in Houston. Inside.
God dang, that's cheap.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You
Yeah.
know, so it just kind of took off, man. I just, you know, I had my buyers list that I had actually purchased from another guy for $5,000. And then I kind of grew it, evolved it, you know, scrape stuff off Facebook, put people on there when I'd see them, you know, like, you know, a post on investing or whatever.
Mhm.
Man, I've got about 85,000 people on my buyers list nationwide.
Wow.
You know, I get about a 30% open rate. You know, so roughly I did a email the other day for 10 units in Houston. It was 4 duplexes and then 2 small houses on 1 lot. And I got my results from Constant Contact. I had a 30% open rate, man. So that's
Wow.
roughly 30,000 or 22,000 people were opening up my emails,
Unbelievable.
you know,
Wow.
and so that's a lot, right?
It is.
You know, for what we're doing.
Absolutely.
But since 2018, man, I've sold over, I would say I'm close to 100. I've definitely sold over 75 multifamily, commercial, storage, RV, mobile home park transactions on the
Wow.
market.
That's unbelievable, man. That's unbelievable. Did you leave Shell in 2017 full time, or did you?
I left in 2018. January 2018 is
2018.
when I left. So I just passed my 4-year anniversary, and I told my wife, I said, look, you know, give me 2 years. If our lifestyle goes down, I'll go back. I mean, I have 17 years in the industry business, plan industry.
Right.
You know, so I
Right.
could always go back and, you know, get a job within 2 years somewhere. You know,
Right. Well, yeah, it
experience.
looks like you didn't have to do that.
Exactly, right. And, you know, by the grace of God, man.
Absolutely,
you know, for sure,
man.
you know.
Absolutely. But Tim, I think this is fascinating because you've had such massive success with the multifamily, but not everybody does this, right? I mean, this is not a common thing. Like you said, you called 15 apartment owners, 15 people did deals with you. I've done one. It's a 15 unit over off of West Main in the Montrose area. And I should have made more money. It was a decent payday. I should have made more money. I actually undervalued myself because I didn't know enough. I didn't know enough about what I was actually bringing to the table. Looking back on it, I probably left 150 grand on the table. So, you know what I mean? But, you know, it's all good, but it was a really cool experience for me because, man, the seller, you know, what I, and you can let me know if this is right from your experience, but with the multifamily guys, you know, it's more of a logic-based negotiation. I feel like it was more based on numbers and calculation. They seem, obviously they're halfway savvy because they own assets. They're actual investors themselves. And it was really enjoyable talking to these investors because you do feel, I don't know, I think you do feel a little bit better about it, you know, because you're kind of on more equal footing with the other party. But for your mindset, Tim, I mean, not everybody does this. What was your mindset? Did you just know that this could be successful, or was it just like, hey, I just don't want to do single family, so this has to be the path? I mean, how did you come about that?
I mean, I saw that no one was doing it because I'm on everybody's list, right? I mean, I'm on your list. I'm on, you know, AC's list. I'm on everybody's list, Boris's list. You know, now, you know, Boris is, you know, a few years back, but back then I never saw an apartment. I never saw one. Now you see them all over the place. You see storage, you see everything. You know, a lot of my mindset, man, was I just, you know, that one lady really kind of shook me. I'm literally trying to get this old lady's asset and make a 20 grand offer. Right. Now, granted, okay, so let's think about it realistically. Could she have made more money? Yeah, but how much more? Maybe an extra 10 grand. So, I mean, when I look back on it 4 years later, I probably just kind of beat myself up a little bit, but I just kind of felt bad about the transaction.
Yeah.
One, I didn't get it under contract the first time. Two, she got the runaround from some Yahoo who probably doesn't even know the first thing about wholesaling.
100%.
Right. And so, man, my mindset was, it's more of a higher level conversation, like you just said, right? You're having a higher level conversation with these people, more realistic, as opposed to you call somebody, I want 150,000. Why? Well, it's because I want. Okay, well, it doesn't work, right? So there's a lot of give and take. You got to take in, the repairs, the value add, what can be done, implementing a RUB system, stuff like that to increase your net operating income, thus increasing your cap rate, increasing your return, whatever,
Right.
if you as a person who's buying it would want to go turn around and sell it. I mean, I did a deal in Lake City, 340 North Houston Avenue. It was 22 units that Cody Pirtle brought to me. I helped him close the deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I was part of the buying group on that. We did 10 units from the studs out on a rehab, and then we rehabbed the other 12. We just did a cash out refi on it a few years back or whatever, but that was a good deal. And then I'm doing 28 units in Alvin with some partners that I have.
Nice.
Nice. So you're doing it, you're wholesaling it, but you're also part of the buying side. So you see what, how the other half, so I can have an educated conversation with a seller, I can walk in and say, hey, you need 12,000 per door in your rehab here to get these max rents and not 8 like you think.
Right.
Right. And when people say, when you reciprocate that to someone in a conversation, they're like, oh, can't pull a rug on this guy.
Yeah.
I've got to have my ducks in a row in order for this to happen.
Absolutely.
Like right now, the big thing is the price per door. People in Houston want 100,000 price per door in LaPorte. I talked to the guy today, he had property in LaPorte. I'm like, there's no way, man. For 120, I can go to Montrose in Houston and get something for 7 cap.
Yep.
So when you can have that kind of conversation, people are like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about, and so again, it goes back to just the mindset, a higher level conversation, that most people, it's hard to have. I mean, I've had VAs try to make these calls and it just doesn't work.
It won't work. Yeah. It won't work.
They can't talk to somebody with 50 doors in Southwest Houston if they're in the Philippines. They just don't know.
Right. And it's a whole different level. Like I said, it's a higher level conversation, with single family. Oftentimes that's their only asset, or, and it has more of an emotional tie than a financial tie, and with these multifamily guys, contracted 6 or 7, closed at 1, but all of them had the same avatar. They're all pretty savvy guys, and they know their numbers, and they're willing to sell. Like, they will sell, and they don't really necessarily hide that card. It's just more about how can we make the numbers work, right? And
correct.
And there's there was a lot more nuances as well, with those deals. It's not as easy as a single family.
It's one of these things where in single family, I can go contract a house and put $10 earnest money, and the problem I'm running into is I'm talking to sellers now. Unfortunately, there are some inexperienced people out here that are doing this now. And I mean, I had a guy who literally had a $3 million, offer from somebody on his apartment complex, and he allowed the guy to contract it with $10 earnest money.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and so that's kind of the big difference with, you'll see in commercial and residential is, I mean, my earnest money deposits are 40, 50, 60, $70,000, as opposed to $500 or whatever. And so, this guy and I had a conversation, and he's like, well, the last guy did this, and I knew he was flipping it. And I said, well, look, I always present myself as the buyer or part of the buying group, but I'm like, well, that was kind of your fault. You allowed someone to contract your property for $10 earnest money.
Right.
Like, that's just as much your fault as it is the guy. And and I always preface this by, hey, I know you probably don't like hearing this, but this is what happened. You allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
It's not on me. And I was, because I get, it's funny because the people who do things the right way kind of get the brunt of the anger from other, people who have had bad experiences. And I always try to go back to that person with, hey, we've never spoken before. Because I get a lot of people say, take me off your list. Well, I've never spoken to you before. So I'd be happy to take you off my list. I'll never call you again. But I don't know if someone else, it's not me.
Sure. Exactly.
So it's just a different mentality, but a lot of it, man, is the follow-up, just like in single family, right? So I know you have leads where people say, hey, call me in 6 months, or hey, we're getting ready to get out of probate. The the follow-ups are way more important, I think, than obviously the first contact is. But man, I made my largest fee off of follow-up after 1
Absolutely.
year.
So let's go. Yeah. And I want to point to what you're saying, with your EMD. I mean, you're putting 30, 40, 50 grand down on your EMD. So, I mean, so whenever you're vetting out these deals, Tim, do you pretty much, is your mindset like, okay, if I can't sell this, I'm closing on this? Is that kind of the mindset, or what's the thought process? Because obviously, you've done some due diligence before doing that.
Sure. So my mindset going in is, I can take this down by myself or with a partner, or with my team. I have a group of guys that we can buy up to 20 million, but I can take it down with them, or I can wholesale it. So I kind of look at it as, is this an area of town I want to be in long term? Is this an area of town that I see I can turn around and raise rents and, turn over the clientele there, and then, flip in a couple of years, or do a good cash out refi? But then I always look at the spread. Okay, I could probably sell this and make 400, 350, 250, whatever, right? So I always run it from the numbers aspect of, would I buy this deal myself?
Gotcha.
And I think it's only fair for the person buying it, right? Because I do get a lot of calls from people that have been on my list a long time. And man, I will say this very humbly. It's very humbling that people call me and they say, hey, I appreciate your deals. And I appreciate, that when I call you, you have honest answers about your deals. And when I send you an offer, like, I don't say, oh, piss off or whatever. I just say, hey, look, that doesn't work, but we can make this work.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is, at the end of the day, it's about customer service. More
Sure.
importantly, I think, more than anything, because you're dealing with the seller, you're dealing with the buyers. I always make sure that if I'm not going to buy the deal, if I'm going to wholesale it, like, I don't do the inspection. I save it for the person who's going to buy it.
I see.
That way I can approach the owner and say, hey, look, we are going to do our inspection on Thursday, da-da-da. Or if I have a showing where there's 20 or 30 people there, I say, hey, look, I'm bringing my investment group out. It's going to be about 20 people. I need to take a look at 2 units, and then we're going to walk the grounds.
Gotcha.
And then from there, anybody can make their determination on whether they like the property or whether they don't. So a lot of it is just kind of the white glove service, if you will, right?
Absolutely.
The concierge service.
Yeah.
Whereas in single family, oh, you want to buy it? I'll take your deposit. I'll see you at closing.
That's it, man. It's very,
it.
it's very transactional, it's very transactional. And I do feel like with the multifamily space and commercial space, because I feel like, well, obviously the buyer pulls less, and so you're going to be seeing these people multiple times. So you want to build that relationship. Let's talk about maybe some of your biggest challenges. What have been the hardest things, wholesaling and flipping commercial and multifamily?
And the biggest challenge right now is how much these sellers want. Right now, that's the biggest challenge we face is, these guys are trying to sell 5 caps, and trying to convince them that you just don't buy 5 caps in Houston, Texas. And I can't sell them to local buyers either.
Absolutely.
I can sell them to California buyers, but I haven't had a California buyer that's legit, that's come through and closed,
Right.
The other big challenge obviously is the frequency of the closings. So, multifamily deal, it's usually a 45-day feasibility with a 30-day close. So you're looking at 75-day contracts, right? So, if I don't secure 3 or 4 deals, and if I go 2 months without getting a deal, because at the end of the year, it's very slow from Thanksgiving to the New Year, because these people are sophisticated, they have money. So you can't call them on the Tuesday after Christmas. They're not home.
They're not home. And there's no urgency there.
Zero. There's zero urgency. So if I go 2 months without getting a deal, well, it's 4 months without getting a check. But again, when I get that check, those checks are a lot larger than, you're not, I might get $5,000, a month off single family if I'm doing 2 or 3 deals a month, or let's say 15 grand. But if I don't do a deal in 4 months, but then on the 5th month, I'm getting a $250,000 check come in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And that's a big, that's a big check, man. Yeah.
Right. And that's the challenge of, excuse me. The challenge is the waiting game. Hey, I've got this, I've got that. You're still putting out the earnest money. You're still doing this, so, the challenge is someone being able to balance that time. Like this past year, I had the most deals under contract ever. I had 17 multifamily deals under contract at one time.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot to keep up with showings, with closings, with inspections, appraisals. Excuse me. And but I sold 7 of them, 8 of them. I sold half of them. But the good thing is the way I do things, even when I terminate with people, I'm very professional about it. I call them, I explain to them, hey, look, the numbers just don't work. Now, if you could come down to this, they could work. Prime example was I had that deal I sent out just the other day. I had it under contract earlier last year, and the guy wanted too much, and I sent it out. Well, one of my other callers called him, and I sent him a contract again, and he came down another 70,000.
Wow.
And you're like, okay. So the good thing is hey, I've tried this. We didn't make it work at this price, but I always try to go back and say, look, because if I get an offer for something, I'm the kind of guy that, look, I sent something out at, prime example, I sent out 32 units last year for 2.5 million. It was overpriced in Pasadena, but the lady wasn't budging. I got an offer at 2 million. I got an offer at 2.3. I went back to her and I said, look, we're at 2.4. And I said, look, if you can go to 2.2, I can get this deal done. Or I said, if you can go to 2.3 or 2.35, I had an offer of 2.4. So I'm not this guy that has to make 150, 300, 400,000 every deal. I'm going to put deals I'm a deal facilitator at the end of the day if I'm not buying it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But sometimes these people but when I terminate, it's like, hey, look, the numbers didn't work. I told you they didn't work at that price. We can either extend our option period, or I'm going to have to terminate and we can revisit this in 6 months or so.
Right. Right.
And then I always do the follow-ups. Hey, it's been 6 months. Just want to touch base with you. It's like right now, January is a busy month for me because I do a lot of follow-ups with people because in multifamily, you get a lot of, well, I want to sell next year. So I get the full tax benefits for this year. So I'm always touching people in January. Hey,
right.
I'm just following up with you. You told me to follow up with you, just to kind of keep that relationship going, stay in the back of the, I always say the same thing. Hey, I want to be the first person you think about when you're ready to sell. Okay, good. And I've had people do that.
That's
hey,
awesome.
man, I'm giving you a call. I'm ready to sell. Perfect. Done. I had a guy, I sold his property in closing July. Sold it to a guy in Seattle, Washington. I've been talking to this guy for a year and a half. And finally he called me like January of last year and he said, I'm going to do the roofs. I'm going to replace all 3 roofs for you. And then I'm going to fix a security system to where you have the cameras where you can look at it from your phone. Once I finish that, I'll sell. And sure enough, man of his word, he called me, hey, the roof will be done next week. Come out, let's get the contract going.
Wow.
And
that's
I ended up
awesome.
contracting it and I closed it.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. So it's longer follow-up, it's a longer sales cycle, but obviously you get, a bigger reward for it. Let's talk about the big wins, man. I mean, I know, doing quite a bit of multifamily wins. What, if you feel comfortable talking about what's been your biggest, probably your biggest victory, from a commercial multifamily deal.
Yeah, I don't mind talking about it. I mean, my biggest by far, I made 1.2 million.
Oh my goodness.
Kind of a crazy backstory on this one. It was 66 units off of Deering in Houston, Texas here. And I called the guy, talked to him, and had a conversation for about 20 minutes. And he's like, look, I don't want to sell now. I want to give it to my son, yada, yada, yada. And I say, look, just do me a favor. I said, maybe put like on a Post-it note on your desk or something, write the address, write my name and my phone number. Please do that. That way, if you're ever thinking about selling, you'll call me. So, let it go. And around June of the next year, I got a call from this guy and he's like, hey, I'm looking for Tim Loon. I'm like, I hate those calls, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, what can I do for you? Blah, blah. After about 5 minutes, he was like, well, I'm calling you, on my dad's desk, there was a Post-it note with your name on and your phone number with the address to the apartment complex that he has. And I was like, okay, I said, I vaguely remember, maybe. What's the address? So I gave him the address. I said, oh, yeah, I remember your dad. He said he was leaving it, he wanted you to have it, when he retired and everything else. I said, how's your dad doing? He said, my dad died last week of a massive heart attack. And I was like, wow, I'm so sorry, yada, yada. So the conversation turned into, he goes, I don't want this place. I've never wanted this place.
Right.
I'm like, okay. So he ends up, I said, okay, so what do you want for it? What's your asking price? I said, I don't know any numbers, no financials. And the guy says, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to take a penny less than the Harris County appraisal district value.
Wow.
And I said,
Wow.
when can I meet you to sign
Yes.
this contract?
Yep.
So the HCAD value on it was 1.1 million
Okay.
on a 66 unit apartment complex.
Dang.
So
Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
yep.
Oh my goodness.
So ended up, this guy literally had like 6 people in his family die in the next like 5 weeks. So I could never
Wow.
get with him, to get the contract signed.
Yeah.
So finally we got the contract signed, sent it out to the list, and I got a cash offer at like 2.3, 2.4.
My goodness.
And so
That's a sick deal, man. I mean, that
great.
is, and for the buyer too. I mean, for the buyer, that's a
Oh
freaking
yeah.
phenomenal deal, man. So, because I've never had a $1.2 million deal at closing. So I'm assuming I want that, man. It's awesome. So I guess at closing, you get like a freaking check, a 7-figure check. I mean,
Yeah, I do wire. I didn't get wires. I don't do the whole check, because then they
okay,
gets on hold and stuff. So
yeah,
my title agent just sends a wire. I did a double close, blind HUDs, pass through funding, all that good stuff, that again, it goes back to the higher leverage game in terms of, I say higher leverage, but a higher intelligence level game of, and I'm not trying to say I'm smarter than, there's a lot of people out there more smarter than I am. But people don't know about pass-through funding. They don't know transactional funding. They don't know double closings.
Absolutely.
They try to assign, a $80,000 assignment, $100,000 assignment, and people see that doesn't fly.
It doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I got burned on 100. I was getting $180,000 on a deal, and I did an assignment. And the guy's like, the day before closing, I can't do it for that price. I can do it for this price. And he cut my assignment fee in half. And I'm like, I knew he screwed me, but I had no other choice.
No, I've been there.
I figured out double closing.
I've been there too, Tim, and it's a bitter thing. It's a weird thing, because I had a deal like that happen to me, and it's like you close, but you're like, you don't feel good about it. You know what I mean? Like, you feel it's like someone put you in a corner and made you. It's really a bad. It's a bad feeling, man. And I can imagine, especially doing these larger deals, even though these are savvy people buying it, people still get weird, and it's I think it's smart that you're doing that, because if someone sees a $1.2 million, they're like, hold on, man, I want it, at this price, and now you're making 200,000 or whatever it is, so
exactly. So back in 2018, in March of 2018, I did 5 transactions closed, and I made a little over 650 total. But then I followed in April with 6 transactions where I made over 800 combined on all 6. And then in May of that year, I did 3 months in a row. I did 5 transactions, but I made over 700,000 off 5. So that was my longest streak of deals. That it was consecutive months of over $500,000 in
I'm assuming your wife was like, I'm so glad you quit the job.
Yeah. She was like, are you sure you don't want to go back to $45 an hour? $45 an hour is great money.
It's good money, yeah. It's good money,
but my time, and I'm able to do the things I wanted to do, and I have been blessed for 4 years to do that. I coach I'm my son's caddy. He plays on a small tour for golf, competitive golf. My daughter is a freshman at Dawson High School here in Pearland. She made the varsity team as a freshman, so I've been able to coach her for the last 5 years. And be at every tournament, every Kansas tournament, California, Louisiana. She's played in 7 states. I've been fortunate enough to be there, and coach her and I've coached the same girls for 5 or 6 years. So got a bunch of little daughters, that I look after. So but definitely commercial, wholesaling has definitely been the avenue that paves the way for that.
Absolutely. So let's talk about kind of your ultimate goals. It sounds like obviously your family and having that time freedom is so vital for you. Is that kind of been the driving force for a lot of this, or
it has, man. My goals, I want to grow my portfolio. I've kind of sold off some interest in some other deals and sold off some properties over the last few years. So I want to get back into the holding now. And I've like I said, I've grouped together with a couple other people that we have some good buying power. So the ultimate goal is, again, the family time. I just, my wife actually, in doing this, I've actually been able to retire her from teaching after just 9 years, but she's going to be a full-time real estate agent, just
Yeah.
a regular agent, just to give her,
Yeah.
something to do. But again, like I said, my daughter's a freshman, my son's a 7th grader, and I just enjoy, and I've got, my oldest daughter from my first marriage. I got a little grandbaby, brand new grandbaby from 2 months ago. So,
Wow.
he's,
That's awesome.
he's a bouncing baby boy. So, just the family time and just the freedom, man. Just, hey, if someone calls me, hey, can you come look at this property? Back in the day, I was at the plant, and I would always get a call on Monday, and I didn't get off until Friday.
Right.
And I'd have homeowners calling me, hey, I want to sell my house, come look at it. And I'm like, I can come Friday. Well, I'd call them Friday morning, hey, I already sold it. I told you I need to sell it.
Yeah.
Where now if I get a call, since we hang up, I get a call, hey, I got this 10-unit apartment complex I want to sell. Can you come look at it? I can hop on the car and go.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And be back in time to get my daughter from practice.
Yeah.
So to me, man, I mean, if we're not doing it for our time and freedom, and why are we doing it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we put up with a lot of shit. I mean, I put up with a lot of bullshit from buyers and sellers, and
absolutely.
But it's worth
absolutely. And that's the thing. I think that's what I want to, if someone's watching this, it's like, yeah, these are awesome deals, but man, when you're doing multifamily commercial deals at a large scale, and you got a lot of them going on at once, it's hard work. I mean, it is not easy. Sellers act weird, buyers act crazy. You got tenant issues getting into the properties. Tenants won't let you into the properties. There's title this. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you're juggling at one time, and there's a reason why you're compensated. You know what I mean, for that.
Exactly. I mean, is it great? Yes. I mean, and it's the glamour side. Yeah, I'm making this money, but I'm it goes back to, like I said, the white glove service, concierge service. Like, I make sure that the buyer has the appraisal scheduled. I have to coordinate with the seller, any inspections that need to be done. At the same time, I'm doing showings for other properties. I'm fielding calls. So when I send these deals out to my list, I'm either on the phone, email, or texting for the next 5 hours.
Wow.
And I'm the only one that handles them, because I've tried it the other way with having other people handle my incoming calls, and it's just not the same.
Gotcha.
Like and I've listened to them, because people ask, I get non-refundable deposits, man. I get $100,000 non-refundable deposits for deals. I get $50,000 non-refundable deposits. So, explaining it, being able to articulate that to somebody, and I had this guy one time saying, well, you got to put up the deposit to see the property. I'm like, whoa. No, stop.
Yeah.
Stop. That's not what happens, and, I had to get the phone and just say, and I had to explain it. So does that cut into my time? Yes, it does. But again, at the end of the day, I'm the one that's making the money. So
absolutely.
Yeah, if I'm on the phone, I mean, I sent out that 10 unit the other day, and I had 57 emails in 2 hours.
Right.
Not to mention the phone calls and the text messages,
Right.
So, and I'm doing that constantly. So like my board, you see back here, it's all, it's all squared off. And, I basically put the property address, my option period end date, the closing date. I have the end buyers, information. I just put their name there. Have they put up the deposit? Yes. And then I put, like, on the last section, I'll put my spread. I have it under contract for 1.2. I'm selling it for 2 million.
Right.
And that way I kind of, in my mind, okay, and I can just come in the mornings and look at my board and go, okay, I need to terminate here and whatnot. And then I kind of transition all that into my Google Calendar, so I don't miss an option period ending,
right.
Where I can say, oh, I don't want, because my $40,000-$50,000 earnest money becomes hard then.
Yes, I see what you're saying. Yeah. And you don't want to screw that up, and then next thing you know, you lose your cash, or you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't terminate. Yeah,
exactly.
That's a big deal, man. And I think that's huge. Go ahead.
And a lot of times what I do too is, like, on that, I always try to get with the sellers to extend like a week or so. Like, if I haven't done my inspection or something, I'll try to say, hey, haven't done my inspection. Can you give me another week? If I have people that are calling me saying, hey, I've got an LOI coming, I got an offer coming, yada, yada, yada.
Gotcha. That's huge, man. So what's, I know you said you wanted to do some more holdings and kind of get into that. How many units do you currently have, and what does that look like for your portfolio?
I have the 22 and 28 that, that I have right now. And then like I said, I'm just looking to grow some more. I had a couple of small deals that I had sold off last year. But I'm just holding right now with the 50. I want to do some Airbnb stuff, but like multifamily is more of my traditional sense. I've got, 3 or 4 sellers that I'm following up with the next few weeks, and they have a total of about 33 doors that I could just, I can manage myself. Or I can just pick those up, throw them into the portfolio, and just have them there for myself.
Gotcha.
But I'm also working on a 76 and then 164 unit deal also
Nice.
with some partners.
That's awesome, man. So on those bigger deals, you take, you said partners, I guess, is it kind of like a syndication? Do you have multiple?
It's a small syndication. It's not like a true syndication. It's basically, we have our money guy who's going to be putting himself on the loan, and then we have people who are bringing in the equity in order for us to do all the stuff,
Gotcha.
for the down payments and stuff.
And then they'll have like a portion. I guess they'll get like a portion of the passive income. Is that kind of
Correct.
how that works? Gotcha.
Correct. Yep.
Gotcha.
For sure.
Well, man. So on a side note, if you get some of those, let me know. I'd be interested to join.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Hey, I always love, getting with people, talking to people, and I've been doing a lot of masterminds this year. I was in Nick Perry's mastermind for a while, Corey Geary and those guys, great guys, and Ricardo Rosales and Charles and Mike from San Antonio. So I've kind of stepped out of my circle, if you will. So I've always kind of done things on my own. So I know that you can do more with others.
For sure.
I definitely like to network with people, and I've been getting out a lot more for just
Yeah. And for me personally, I've been kind of doing the same thing, and it's I only own a duplex. I mean, that's the only passive income that I have. I've been a transactional guy for almost 4.5 years doing wholesaling, and I love it. And we have a good little business, but man, it's nice to just get a check, to come to you every month. So that's kind of part of my evolution. Like, I want to mature in my space and say, okay, how can I become more of a passive investor, and
Sure.
kind of keep my antenna open for that, because man, you get so locked in on wholesaling. It's sometimes hard to get out of it, man,
But when you stop, like you said, the money stops.
Right. The
So
money.
you're on, so you're on, just like me, man. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm on the wheel just like you are. So when we stop calling, when I take off the last 2 weeks in December, like I always do, well, there's nothing coming in January, or, whatever, right?
Right.
I don't totally shut down, but still, when you stop doing it, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to go, hey, now I've got to get out there and get some more business,
Yeah.
So man, like I said, the passive thing is, I see everybody else, and I have a little bit, but I need more,
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, without a doubt, I'd love to partner up, love to look at some deals with you. I'm open, I'm easy, man. I'm easy. I like working with people.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Awesome, Tim. And so you're going to be in Chris Rude's mastermind in March, right?
Yes, I was scheduled to go to his one in December, and then I think there was some stuff going on with my daughter, and I was like, and I think he got a bunch of people that filled up, so I was like, hey man, just pull me out. I'll come in March and go from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. I'm excited. I'm going to be there. So
yeah, good. I look forward to seeing you. I went to his other one that he had at his house in September, October, I think. And I kind of talked to, I was just there as an attendee, but I had, I did a quick little bit there too. But I'm looking forward to Chris's in March for sure.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, Tim, we'll wrap this up, brother. I appreciate your time. If you had to maybe give someone one piece of advice, they're a real estate investor, they're an entrepreneur, maybe they're new, they don't have to be in the commercial space, but what would you tell someone starting off, in this business?
The thing that I see that I think that people need to look at is do business the right way. Like, if you don't know how to do it the right way, find out first before you do it.
Right.
Because right now the problem is people don't know what they're doing, and they're going out and they're messing it up, and then it looks bad on all of us.
Right.
So
absolutely.
Don't go out there and put a one-page contract in front of somebody and think it's going to work.
Right.
Get educated before you start. Don't do on-the-job training.
Right.
Like, there's too much information with the stuff on Facebook, the groups on Facebook, the YouTube, just questions. People get find me on Facebook. Send me a friend request, and I'd be happy to answer questions or whatever. But get educated first before you go out there and jump out there and treat somebody bad, or do something wrong, or mess it up for somebody else that's coming along. So
I love that.
Just do it right the first time. Period.
Yeah, and also, if you don't know, partner up with somebody, maybe, work something out to where it's symbiotic for both parties, where you can, both guys can make money somehow, and you can learn, because you're absolutely right. I mean, especially in the commercial space, I mean, there's a lot you can have the information, but without the experience, it's really difficult, and you can, you can do some damage to some situations, and make it hard,
Well, prime example, when I first started, the guy I bought my list from, I partnered up with him. I would just take in my deals and I just split the profits 50-50. But guess
Right.
what? My deal got sold.
Absolutely.
And even here a couple of years ago, I mean, I reached out to Boris Sanchez. Hey man, meet at this property. I might, maybe we can partner up on it. And I got his feedback and I got his honest opinion, and we did a Zoom and how we would structure the loan. I mean, like, so there are things that, that I didn't know. I reached out to others. I didn't just willy-nilly go, hey, I'm going to do this and this and this.
Right.
So, don't be too proud to ask for help. We were all new. Hey, I was new. I did my first house flip. I made $800 on it. And I thought that was a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my first wholesale deal, I lucked into something on my own, but the first deal I did by myself, I made 40 grand. But then when I started splitting with the guy, I was making $18,000 and $20,000, but that was, at the end of the day, it was 36,000 and 40, but I just had to give up half.
Right.
But I gave up half because there were things I didn't know.
Absolutely.
But the whole way along the way, I asked questions to where now I can go branch off and do it the right way.
Absolutely. That's awesome, Tim. Yeah. And I think that everyone could take that advice. Find a good, a partner / mentor, do it the right way, because that's experience that will last a lifetime, and it'll keep our industry on the up and up, which is important.
Sure.
And
see, like with me, man, I do some coaching, but I don't do a whole lot of it, but I do a lot of mentoring. I actually even mentor a kid in high school, but it's not about real estate or anything. But, like I have a mentor program, the guy out of Dallas, I did a mentor program with him. I showed him everything. I didn't charge him anything, but we had a contract on his first 5 deals. It was a 70-30 split, 70 to me, 30 to him.
Right.
The next 5 were 60-40. And then on deal number 11 and on, we were 50-50.
That's awesome.
Because that's the progression,
Absolutely.
In the beginning, you're not going to know shit.
Yeah.
Then you're going to know some. Then you should know most of it, or none of us know it all, right?
Yeah.
So these guys that come out there with these programs for $50,000 and $80,000 and $100,000, at the end of the day, they still haven't really taught anybody anything.
Exactly. It's just it's all information, and they're not walking you through it.
They're not. They're giving it to you from a fire hose. They're just drinking from a fire hose, and you're not going to get any real content. And
Absolutely.
You're not going to be able to regurgitate it later. So I take it a little slower. Yeah, is it more of my time? But man, my friend in Dallas, he's already brought me 3 deals that he's made calls for, and hey, those are 3 deals that I didn't have.
Absolutely.
So I made money when he made money.
Absolutely. Win-win, man. I think, and that is
absolutely
having a win-win mindset. Well, Tim, I appreciate your time, brother. I hope 2022 is huge for you. I'm looking forward to connecting with you and Chris's mastermind. And I want to reach out to you more, man. Houston's our home market here, man. So I'm looking forward to connecting with you.
For sure. Thank you for your time, Blake.
Awesome.
And I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.